We begin right now with an update on a traffic impact alert. Linda Vista Road between Goshen and Brunner is now back open. So that's the latest in the last few minutes here. San Diego police are saying a pedestrian was hit and killed by a car. Our photographer saw an SDPD squad car being towed away from the scene.
Yeah, what you're looking at is a live picture of that road, again, between Brunner and Goshen. And right now it looks like there is still a patrol car on scene there, but the lanes are back open and traffic is flowing pretty smooth. This is near the University of San Diego area. It happened just after 2 this morning. And once again, the road is back open to traffic. All right, thank you so much for joining us on your 6 o'clock hour on this Wednesday. I'm Vanessa Paz in for Eric Connor.
And I'm Nada Irampour. Hopefully your morning is off to a nice start. Pretty mild out there, it feels like. It had the birds excited in our parking lot.
They're always excited.
They
Not
are
a
loud.
day those birds are not excited.
I also, what's that Birds? Is it called Birds, the movie where they like attack the humans?
No.
The animated one?
Yeah, the one that's
I have
really
thoughts
old.
about that sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get concerned that they're gonna like just truly like come out.
Totally.
We're in
Like,
their territory.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, hey, we often talk about how the birds are chirping in the morning. If you're out in our parking lot, they are very vocal. 6:01 this morning, and we're looking live outside from Booker Hill, facing south. You can see off toward the right-hand side of the screen. That is where we would see the west-facing view, the sunrise, the sunset on the left-hand side, right-hand side, the coastline, our inland valleys. And that's why you see that marine layer that's kind of drifted in to start off the morning. Temperatures are starting to cool down today. We've got low 70s out by the coast, upper 70s as we start to look inland today. It's all part of a broad cooling trend that will kick into high gear by the upcoming Father's Day weekend. We'll have more details and a look at the 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Evan. And right now, smoke from the Mateo fire is impacting air quality, especially across northern San Diego County.
Yeah, a smoke advisory is currently in effect for some areas. News 8's Tori Apodaca joins us now live from Poway with what health officials are advising that people do. Hey, Tori.
Hi, good morning. We know that people out here were smelling that smoke yesterday. I can tell you this morning we aren't smelling it, but it still might not be the best idea to take kids out to the park like this one here today, as officials are warning that the smoke may intensify the smell of it, especially later in the day. Here, though, is the very latest on that fire. It's now 40% contained. It broke out on Monday, burning in the northeast region of Camp Pendleton, already spreading nearly 1,200 acres. No structures, though, are currently threatened, and the cause is still under investigation. Smoke from this fire, though, has been drifting south, impacting areas like San Marcos, Poway, El Cajon, and Alpine the most. Officials warn that onshore winds are expected to increase around midday today, meaning conditions may worsen in foothill areas like Lakeside and Valley Center. That means the air quality will be unhealthy for especially sensitive groups like people with respiratory or heart disease, the elderly, children, but it could also impact you if you don't have an underlying condition. That's really why officials are asking people to limit their time outdoors as much as possible to avoid any types of symptoms like headaches, coughs, or watery eyes. Reporting live from Poway this morning, Tori Apodaca, News 8.
Tori, thank you so much for that. And now, wow, new video out of Texas showing here 1 person is dead, 5 others injured after a jet crashed onto a highway in Laredo. Witnesses video showing several drivers rushing to that crash site, one taking a sledgehammer even to the plane's cockpit window in an attempt to free those who were trapped inside. Data from FlightAware shows the plane took off from Mexico's Los Cabos International Airport just after 6 p.m. And then it crashed about 10 p.m., just miles from Laredo International. Police say no bystanders were injured, though 5 officers were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. Also new this morning, Iran expected to immediately take steps to reopen the Strait of Hormuz after they sign a deal with the U.S. this week. The Associated Press is reporting that information from leaked copies of that agreement.
It also says the U.S. will secure $300 billion to rebuild Iran, which would allow Iran to sell oil freely and end sanctions if a final deal addressing Iran's nuclear program is reached. However, President Trump says the agreement has not been finalized. An in-person signing is scheduled for Friday in Switzerland. This comes amid the final day of the G7 summit. President Trump scheduled a press conference there in about 30 minutes.
The Larry Millette murder trial continues today. Testimony yesterday focused on 2 small glass vials found inside the Millette home after Larry's arrest in 2021. An FBI agent testified those vials were sent to a lab in Quantico for testing, where investigators were looking for compounds linked to poison hemlock and water hemlock, highly toxic plants that have come up repeatedly during the trial. Prosecutors have suggested 1 vial tested positive for a chemical associated with poison hemlock. Jurors also heard the testing process took nearly a year and a half as scientists worked to develop a method to analyze those contents.
This morning, the husband of a local ER nurse is remembering his wife, who was killed while helping a crash victim. Last Thursday around 4 in the morning, we were actually reporting this. Nettie Benitez was heading home from her shift at Sharp Memorial Hospital when she and fellow Good Samaritan former Marine Gary Tillman stopped to help on the 15-year State Route 76. CHP says that another car struck them both. Benitez and Tillman were pronounced dead.
I am sad, I'm angry, but knowing that her last act was something that she loved doing.
Her husband is working with Sharp to honor her memory and legacy. CHP says the driver they stopped to help was arrested on suspicion of felony DUI and gross vehicular manslaughter. This morning, we're learning SDG&E customers could be in store for another rate hike starting in 2028.
So this week, the utility filed a formal request to raise rates by 8.6%. News 8's Chris Grow live in studio to explain what will happen if this gets approved. Chris, I think a lot of people's reaction are the same, right?
Yeah. If this gets approved, it's going to be a lot more money on your bill. We're talking about potentially $22 when you add up both gas and electric here on average. And this is one of those things where it's going to impact those who both rent and buy, because for a lot of renters, you do pay your utilities. Now, we did speak with some advocates, some consumer advocates. It's called the Utility Consumers Action Network, who says that they plan to fight the proposed rate increase. Here's what their executive director had to say.
This is adding to the burden. This is adding to the profitability that SDG&E gets. And yet this is found to be reasonable and acceptable by the commission. It's enough is enough. Commission itself just needs to do its basic job. Think about Californians. Think about the customers and consumers first.
All right, so what's being proposed and why does SDG&E say that it needs to be proposed? SDG&E is asking for what's called a revenue requirement of roughly $3.8 billion for 2028. That's $2.9 billion for electric operations and $900 million for natural gas. If approved, you would likely see an increase of $14 for the average monthly electric bill and $8 for the average monthly gas bill. SDG&E says that this most recent request would pay to improve efficiency and streamline operations and invest in infrastructure. In fact, in a statement, SDG&E writes, quote, "We understand that any increase in energy bills can be challenging for our customers, especially as many households' costs continue to rise. SDG&E's 2028 rate request reflects a focused plan to manage costs responsibly while maintaining safe and reliable service." Now, despite not bringing in as much revenue as the first quarter of this year as last year, Sempra, SDG&E's parent company, actually reported a higher profit in that same time frame. So $1 billion this quarter versus $900 million last first quarter. The California Public Utilities Commission still has to approve this request. Until then, we'll send things back to you guys.
Thank you so much for that report. 6:09 is the time on your Wednesday morning. Let's go ahead and now toss it over to Evan Arani with a look at your forecast. It looks a little gloomy out there.
Definitely gloomy, yeah. I mean, we've started to see that ridge of high pressure that was allowing for less cloud cover and warmer temperatures in turn for the last handful of days is losing a lot of its strength, which means that we're backing off from the heat. We're also starting to see an increase in that cloud cover. It's stretching all the way to the western slopes of the mountains. Also getting a little breezy out there. That transition from high pressure to slightly lower pressure. Any change in pressure typically comes along with an uptick in wind speeds and wind gusts. Wind gusts right now all the way through about 9 a.m. 30 miles per hour out in Borrego. Looking at the coast and inland, it's really mild for now as far as wind speeds and wind gusts go, but going into the afternoon stretch, you can see how we jump to about 15 to 20 miles per hour out there, and that's going to be likely the most intense along the coast and inland, but for the mountains and deserts, things continue to amp up going into the overnight stretch. We could get up to about 40 miles per hour. So factor that into any travel plans you have when you make your way toward the mountain passes and over the desert too. Surf is intense. We've got a beach hazard statement in effect until Friday at 11 p.m. 3 to 6 foot waves, sets of 7 foot waves possible. We're watching for king tides to back off a little bit. That's the plus side too, is that tides are seeing an improvement. Fallbrook, 59 right now, 57 in Ramona, 63 in El Cajon, and 62 in Encinitas. We're going to watch as temperatures stay in this more comfortable range. Might lose another few degrees from Julian at 79 this afternoon. We could drop to 77 by tomorrow and Friday. Same goes for the deserts. Borrego, windy today, 102, dropping down to the upper 90s by Friday. Let's take a look at traffic. We want to take you to the same spot we were in just a few minutes ago, where Tori Apodaca is live at that scene. What we're seeing is a continuation of reopening of Linda Vista Road. We earlier had that SIG alert in effect from 2 a.m. through about 5:30, 5:45 or so. We're still getting more information on what exactly led up to this crash between a pedestrian and a vehicle, but right now we're seeing that road is now back open. Let's take a look at your border wait times right now, where it is a 150-minute wait at the San Ysidro Port of Entry. Going to take you about an hour, 2 hours and 30 minutes potentially. Otay Mesa Port of Entry could take you longer, about 3 hours in total.